This is Steven. He's a former client of Optifold, and I just want to let everyone know that we're not like personal friends. We don't really know each other, like except for working with each other. Like him with his uneven eyelids, and I'm the inventor of the eyelid crease bandage. But other than that, we don't know each other. Um, Maybe Steve, you can kind of introduce yourself and trying to like, I guess, for the viewers out there to kind of get to know what's going on in this conversation, stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. So, a little bit about how I found Optifold. Honestly, it was during lockdown. I was looking for a solution for my uneven eyelids, and majority of the time, I've had uneven eyelids for a really, really long time. Majority of the time, I thought just, surgery was the only way to kind of fix it. And then I was just randomly browsing Quora, and I saw, someone asking kind of the same question, and Ray had answered this person about his and provided his solution to it. And I thought it was kind of unique. And I did a little bit more, dive a little bit more deeper into the company. I was just like, hey, maybe I should give this thing a try out. And I'm glad I did. And so, I gave uh Ray a call. You walked me through all the steps and the processes. And within, I want to say like 3 months or so, I saw pretty permanent results, and I still have my two eyelids. They're still there.
Sweet.
And I haven't used
Nice.
it for I haven't used tapes in a long, long time. Probably I want
More
to
than a
say,
year.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, more than a
Yeah.
year now. Yeah, yeah, more than a year
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like how was your eyelid configuration or the eyelid crease before using Optifold?
I had one double eyelid, and this one was a monolid to begin with. It had like a really, really weak, like in certain situations, it would turn into like a double eyelid. Let's just say if I was looking like maybe like upwards or like this. Sometimes it will. But it was a very, very, very weak and unreliable crease.
Like before using Optifold, were there certain occasions that you notice would trigger it to become even more like a single eyelid? Can you think about certain stuff that you noticed that would actually encourage the single eyelid to occur?
Yeah, I would say whenever my eyes are maybe a little bit puffier, maybe like in the morning, it would be pretty solid, single eyelid. Um, but other than that, honestly, I didn't pay too much attention to like, hey, when are my eyelids like single or in which situations? It just didn't I guess it didn't cross my mind that much. It didn't bother me that much, let's just say, to for me to keep it. It was always something in the back of my head. It's like, oh, like I would love to have this problem fixed.
Did you check on like other platforms like on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or did you just end up going to Quora and then just right away going to the Optifold sites?
Yeah, I didn't go through YouTube, nothing like that. I went directly to the Optifold site through Quora, and it all came from a Google search. I was just like, hey, non-surgical method of you know of creating double eyelids, right? And there were eyelid tapes out there. Don't think the other ones that I saw. Well, I guess what drew me into your product was the addition of kind of like the end tapes, which keep your
Mm-hmm.
eyelids down in that position pretty
Mm-hmm.
reliably throughout the night. There's obviously other solutions out there, but most likely, like the ones that I've seen, seems to be more of like a quick fix and usually won't result in permanent results.
Yeah.
Um, and just like the mechanical nature of Optifold is what kind of drew me in. It's like, hey, this is a little bit different. Let's try this because honestly I read the other um, you know, core questions or like people's other experiences. They were able to achieve, permanent double eyelids through, the double-sided like sticky ones. Um, the more basic kind, but it required them to wear it 24/7 for months or even like a year before they even saw any type of results. And I think it's because it's the way those tapes are designed isn't meant to keep your eyelids in a reliable position for like an extended period of time. And plus, wearing it for 24/7, that means you have to wear those tapes like during the day as well. And it's very obvious to you when you're wearing tapes when you try to blink because one eye
Yeah, yeah.
blinks fully and the other one is it becomes like a half lazy eye.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that's so true. Yeah, because some people like these they wear out for both eyes, so it may even though you would still kind of notice something is like interfering with the skin, right? Because after
Mhm,
all, it's the skin being adhered to each other, right? Making a fold.
mhm,
But I never really considered if you just use only one tape on one eye, yeah, it would look like super weird. Yeah.
mhm,
And in those cases, I highly doubt it would actually work because the main purpose of the other tapes, like the regular stuff, there's nothing really wrong with that because it's designed to just be like a cosmetic thing. You know, it's meant to be hidden within the skin. It's not meant to stimulate the skin at all. You're not supposed to even. Their goal is such that when you wear it, you shouldn't even be able to feel it. You
mhm,
know, it should be as convenient and as small as possible. So based on those goals, you're not going to stimulate the skin because the thing has to be small enough to be hidden within the fold. You're not supposed to even feel it. So it's no surprise that for a majority of people, it's not going to work. And even for the people who say it works, I highly am skeptical about it because I've talked to several like social media influencers and like they will say that oh it worked for them and then later on I'd end up treating them actually with Optifold and it turns out that it didn't actually work for them. Only after using Optifold, that's when it worked.
mhm.
So the eyelid, what's your tips while using Optifold? Like there are these set of rules you have to kind of learn and follow. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with these new rules and the learning curve that you had?
Yeah, there definitely was a learning curve. I remember the first night I did it, it was pretty like uncomfortable because I'm not used to sleeping with something on my eye, right? And then keeping it like
Yeah.
glued shut. So that took some time to get used to. And for a period of time, I think I was um applying the tapes. I mean, there was trial and error, right? Like that's why you're there, right? To kind of like walk us through the whole process, look at the progress day by day, helping me give me tips on like how to basically adjust my tapes depending on how my eyelids are behaving. So that type of um that type of care and kind of like expertise and walking me through that whole thing, I think that was pretty vital. I don't think this, or it wouldn't have been as effective, I think, if I were to try to figure it out on my own. And mainly because I think there was a period of time I was not applying the tapes in maybe like the right position, like every single night, which kind of um, hindered the ability of the tapes to start making that reliable fold. So that took some time to get used to, but after a while, like being able to stick with it, like seeing like the results, my double eyelid after like wear the tapes and wake up in the morning, the double eyelid kind of lasts longer and longer and longer. Once you see some progress, I think it's much easier to stick with it because you know, like okay, like it's not that much longer that I have to wear
Yeah.
these tapes, and you get used to it. And then when you get to the point where you don't have to wear the tapes, and then you're like, okay, that was fine. It only took up what, a couple months of my life.
Yeah,
That's fine with me.
yeah. So you had uneven eyelids for how long? Like it's
Since I
since
was a
you're
kid, like yeah, maybe since elementary or middle school.
wow, wow, yeah. So it's like more than 10 years.
Oh
Yeah, and
yeah,
then just in the few months. Yeah. because eyelid skin is quite thin. So once it does get into like a kind of groove, it'll start to behave in the same way, like start folding in the same way. But unfortunately, if you've been having uneven eyelids for a while, like it just gets so used to folding that way. And there are different cases where your case is kind of like the average case. So it's like perfectly normal eyelids, nothing wrong with the muscle, nothing wrong with the skin, like no scars or no. Uh, it's not like you get styes regularly, right? So little growth on the skin. No, it's perfectly normal. It's just that the crease, it's not the most reliable shape. So sometimes it'll be totally gone, sometimes it'll be there. So basically, it was falling at the wrong skin tension line, just giving like the not the most ideal, reliable shape. Um, what else? What about the eyelid crease exercises? Like, did you find them reliable? Were you able to adopt them right away? How was it with your experience on that?
Yeah, the exercise I didn't have a problem with at all. Sure, in the morning, like it took up a little bit more time to make sure that I'm doing them, and if needed, like throughout the day. My biggest thing was keeping my eyelid kind of moisturized because when you're using the stick to kind of train your eye,
Mm,
you're creating
hmm
a lot of like friction on your eyelid, and if you have atopic dermatitis like me, your skin is really sensitive. um, so that was the main thing for me, that I needed to make sure that I always had my eyelids moisturized.
mm,
So that made those exercises a lot easier and a lot smoother. For
yeah.
me, I think what worked for me was like when I'm doing the eyelid exercises to put some like Vaseline. It made sliding it like through the skin much easier,
Mm,
much
yeah, yeah, yeah.
smoother. Um, yeah, and it didn't turn my eye like super angry red or anything like that.
Yeah, good, good. How about using a phone in the morning? Were you able to use like the phone or computer in the morning, right in the beginning of your journey, or did it take some time, or did you try to avoid using the phone and notice that it would either affect the crease positively or negatively? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I try to be conscious about like, hey, if I'm looking at stuff like a screen or whatever, that I'm looking at more of an a kind of upward angle. That was kind of took some time to get used to. But it was fine. Honestly, my routine didn't change too much. It's like, hey, if I'm sitting on the computer, I make sure my computer is elevated so that I'm not going like this to look at my computer screen, but it'll naturally like I'm naturally
Yeah,
looking at an incline.
yeah.
Um, but other
And
than
that
that, I
helped a
didn't
lot?
change yeah, it helped a lot. Other than that, I didn't change my routine all that much.
Yeah. There must be a time when you got like all day results and it lasted for like a few days in a row or a week. Like, how did you feel when that happened?
Oh, it felt great. I was just like, oh, no, it's working. It's like it's paying off, right? And that's
Yeah,
what you kind of want to see.
yeah,
But it was fantastic to see it like, oh, a couple days, like, okay, even if it like failed on this like the third or fourth day, I was like, okay, I just put on the tapes again, and then it'll last another 3, 4 days. If I wanted to be even more reliable, I was just like, okay, I'll wear another couple days in a row, and then eventually it'll just get pretty permanent.
yeah. That's a sweet trajectory. You mentioned that a few times where if, like maybe you thought you applied the tapes correctly, but it was off slightly. So what were the results when it was off slightly?
It was the eyelids will get glitchy. So like let's just say my eyes are moving up and
Mm,
down. It will maybe like as I'm opening up my eyelid, it'll start on one crease, but then it'll like kind of flicker, kind of glitch, and then
mm,
it'll end up on another crease. That's when I knew like, okay, yeah, I put it on the wrong place like last night. Probably that
yeah,
part is the most difficult part, making sure that you're placing it in the same exact position each time, and
mm,
it's gonna take some time to just kind of like tweak until you get the hang of it.
yeah, yeah. You use the tabletop mirror with the magnification feature?
Yes, I actually had a mirror that like something like I don't know if I still even have it. Give me a sec. Yeah, so it's something like this, right? A tabletop mirror, but
Okay. Yeah,
it
yeah,
it lights
yeah,
up.
yeah.
It lights up so
Oh,
that I don't have
sweet.
to worry about like making sure that I have a good enough light source because that was a huge issue in the beginning was like I applied at night in my room. It's dark. I didn't have the proper lighting. And that was causing me to not place it in the right place every time. So once I got like something like this where it like lit up, um,
Yeah.
it got a lot easier for me.
Oh, that's such a good tip. Oh man. Definitely I have to maybe mention that. Yeah, because true, having good lighting and I noticed for myself that the mirror had some magnification features. Oh, it helps so much more because you can really see the details and kind of make reference points with those
Hmm.
detailed the characteristics of your eyelids. So you know, judging by how the relation between where the tape is when you apply it to those eyelid features, so you can gauge whether you're going closer to the nose, for example, or so you can you can remember which areas you applied the tape doesn't work and
Hmm.
avoid those, and you can
Yeah.
start taking note of areas that when you apply the tips correctly and that crease is good because it's based on those reference points. But you can't see those reference points if your lighting is inadequate or
Hmm.
if your eyesight you need more than magnification, otherwise you can't pick up on those details. So actually, maybe yeah, having an upgrade in the mirror is actually something I should suggest. There's got to be more things that maybe you've done also that can, because I notice each person have their own individual kind of tips, and that's something
Hmm.
I try to want to be able to fish out because that would be so cool if I can get like a bunch of all of these tips and then see, let people know and see which one works for them or not. Anything like, for example, when I was going through my double eyelid crease formation back in high school, I noticed that if I go see a movie, like the crease will be there in the beginning of the movie, but at the end, about maybe 40% of the time, my creases will go away. So I'll turn back to like a single eyelid person. And back then I didn't know what was going on. So what I did was just avoid watching movies. But now I know now I know it's more like if I'm sitting at the top of the like the tire seating, I'm kind of looking down on the theater and perhaps maybe I'm not even blinking enough, so my eyes would dry out. So those would be the causes for that. Anything for you that you noticed for your own personal habits that would make it a challenge for the crease to form?
Hmm.
Like some people, after they go to the gym, they noticed sometimes the crease will be weak, so perhaps the sweat or things like that. Anything for yourself?
Hmm. I didn't the only I didn't notice anything like specific situations like that. I guess if I were to pick one, it would be maybe if I notice like, oh, the phone thing that you were talking about. Hey, let's like I'm at work, right? And I'm taking a break or whatever, or like I get caught up on TikTok or Instagram and I'm looking down for like a pretty long period of time. Um, let's say later on I go to the restroom, I'll notice like the crease got like weaker. And it's because
Mm,
I was looking at it at like a downward angle for so long. So being cognizant of, you know, at least in the very beginning, when your crease is still weak, is to make sure ensure that you're looking at a slightly upward angle. That helps a lot to keep your crease in place.
yeah, yeah, because the eyelids have to be at least open at a certain extent, because otherwise, if you're looking down, so the eyelids need not actually to be fully open. And of course, if the eyelid is not opening, that means it's not bunching up, it's not creasing. And the goal here is to accelerate the progression of the crease. So there's really no point if you want to make get your crease to be more permanent at a faster rate. There's really no point in like looking downwards and having the crease not actually forming by you looking up. So it's so important to be looking up. If you notice you're going to be doing basic habits like using a computer or using the phone for an extended period of time. Um, so how do you feel now? So you've pretty much forgotten you had uneven eyelids for like over 10 years. How do
Yeah,
you
basically.
did anyone notice, your friends, your family? Did they see you wearing the tapes? Did anyone
Oh
say
no,
anything?
no one saw it. It was during lockdown, so it was perfect timing.
Yeah,
No one saw my eyelids, the progression. It's
yeah,
such a minor detail, like unless like someone's, pretty like studying your face.
yeah.
Um, I don't think, people it was mostly for myself, not
Mm,
for, other people, but I do notice for myself that, when you take pictures and stuff, your eyes are a lot more even when you smile and stuff. It doesn't look
mm,
like, you have one lazy eye and the other.
yeah,
Um, feel like it looks a little bit brighter because it's opened a little bit more wider. It gives it that
yeah,
kind of illusion.
yeah.
The double eyelid gives it that illusion. So like main differences I noticed for myself in terms of like, hey, other people noticing, pretty minor.
Mm, mm, yeah. I guess in general, guys are not going to get much comments on our looks.
Yeah, it says like, hey, dude,
Yeah,
your eyelids
yeah.
look different, bro.
Your eyelids.
Yeah, I
That's
doubt
crazy.
anybody's gonna make that comment.
Yeah. Or wow, that's an amazing super tarsal crease you got going on. I didn't
Yeah,
see that before, but now you got a super tarsal crease. Like what?
yeah,
Oh my,
exactly.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, girls is a different like story. It would affect I would get like letters written by some clients, and they'll say how it affected their confidence. And actually for mine, there was a time where doing this project like Optifold, like I wouldn't be able to have solid nights of sleep. So pretty much my skin would be super puffy. And I noticed that if I have like 3 days of inadequate sleep in a row, like I will get uneven eyelids. So my difficult eye would start to act up. And I tried having like the uneven eyelid look for a while because I thought, it's not a big deal, right? But I did notice, like, I would think people would notice, especially people I knew before
Mm,
when I had both double eyelids. Like, I'm pretty sure they noticed, like, but they didn't say anything, but I'm so sure they noticed, and it felt so awkward for me. And then eventually, I didn't bother to use Optifold. I just want to see how far I can go. And then eventually the other eye turned to like also because I guess I also didn't sleep well still. And
mm,
I didn't think my good eye would fail, but eventually did too. So I did one day with single eyelids. Holy crap. I felt so uncomfortable. Like I felt like everyone's seeing me. Um, Part of my maybe personality and character is a little bit associated with how I look. So when I
mm,
knew I didn't look that way, I felt so awkward being myself.
mm,
So that's something that I think uh girls might experience at an even heightened feeling. If I know how uncomfortable that is for me as a guy, and like it's not a big deal about our looks that much, right? But for
mm,
other people, sometimes it is important. And having like uneven eyelids probably would bother them a lot, but also mean that once they have it treated and they actually look the way that, to me, I believe is how they're supposed to look, I think it's like a whole new level of like happiness. And I'm pretty sure you kind of feel maybe the same way too, even though it's a small little problem. But the cool thing is like you actually were able to do something on your own that at the moment can only be done by a surgeon.
mm.
And you did it. And it's a small thing and it's done. Boom, on to the next, right?
Yeah, boom. Done.
Yeah.
There's one area of my
Sweet.
life I don't have to worry about.
Yeah. Now, do you think there's something unique about your learning patterns or your work ethic that made you the ideal candidate for such a task? Like, did you have previous cosmetic experience before, for example? I don't know, things like that, you know?
Maybe. Nothing jumps out in mind, but I know for a lot of things, like you kind of have to stick with it for quite some time before you're able to see any results. And I just took that kind of mindset with me. Right. There were times where like, man, fuck this shit. I was like, I kind of want to like it because
Yeah.
it sometimes it did bother my sleep at times. And I'm just like, do I want to keep going with this? Like, do I really want to? It was like, you know what, Steven, you got to stick with it for at least a couple months. If you don't see results, then okay, fine. You at least gave it like your true effort. But yeah, for a period of time, I just didn't really like sleeping with it at all. I'm sure for some people, they probably more people. Some people are going to feel more discomfort than the others. It probably depends on the skin on your eyelids. Um, but as I said, I took that mindset with me, gave it a shot, and I'm glad within 3 months, I saw results. And then once you start seeing some results, and you're like, okay, yeah, I have no problem sticking with it.
Sweet, man. That's great. I guess it's near, I think we got a lot done, covered. Maybe just ask me a question, anything you want to ask before we end the interview.
Um, what I guess, how do you feel when you hear like, hey, you were able or your product was able to help a customer deal with something that they previously thought that they probably couldn't solve on their own?
How do I feel? I would say like everyone has a certain kind of a skill that's easy for them. Maybe they did it when they were a kid or something, and we don't really think about too much. And that's pretty much what I did. Like, until I met my wife who had uneven eyelids, and I was like, hey, let me try to fix it because I just took this architecture course. I got a little bit more confident making stuff with my hands. And it helped her hearing a story from you. It helped you, even though something like this would be like very minor to me. I actually, if I if I had a totally different life path, I probably wouldn't even if I didn't even meet my wife to be, I wouldn't have done Optifold. If
Mhm.
I met someone with like symmetric eyelids, I would not have mentioned about this uneven eyelids at all. It's only because I met my wife had uneven eyelids. And but it turns out that like it can really impact other people. For sure, it impacts me because I think a lot of like I mentioned, a lot of my personality had to do with what I feel my looks represents to me. And when I lost my double eyelids during that time of experimentation, I felt like I couldn't even be myself. I needed to put back Optifold and to get my look back right away. And the cool thing is, I put it on for one night and boom, it's back, and I never had to
Mhm.
touch it again. Because I had these double eyes for so long, I only made them when I was a kid. So that's how I would feel like something very minor. Everyone must have some kind of strength, and that it's worth to spread it out to see if other people would find value at it. And when I hear like stories of like yourself, like for my wife and some of the social media people, because I know how it feels to have being Asian and to have like the missing crease. I know how it feels, and it's at times it could really affect you. And so it's it's almost unbelievable that it can actually impact someone at that deep level, even though it's something that I pretty much was so close to ignoring if I didn't meet my wife at uneven eyelids. Yeah. So that's how I feel about that. Okay, Steven, yo, it's great to hear from you again, and I think we should kind of meet up a bit more in the future and kind of keep in touch. Yeah, until then, yeah, it's great seeing you.
Of course, man. Thanks for, um, inviting me on here just to chat about my experience. It was great. It was a good chat.
Okay, cool. Talk to you next time.
All right, later.
Okay, bye.